Mendes, let's roll the clock back and tell me a little bit more about some of the more traditional mediation practices.
As far as India is concerned, the concept of mediation, as mediation is fairly recent in the legal world. It did come up for the first time in the amendment of 2000 to the CPC, to the Civil Procedure Code, where for the first time there was a separate chapter that was installed in the CPC that provided for alternate dispute resolutions. And the modes of alternative dispute resolution that was introduced was the Lok Adalat, was arbitration, conciliation, and mediation. So therefore, for the first time in the CPC, in Indian context, conciliation and mediation were considered as two different topics or two different methods and not a single method which is otherwise thought of worldwide. Now, we had an Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996, which has conciliation in that. Before that, like I told you, in the Industrial Disputes Act of 1947, you have a whole conciliation procedure. Now, that conciliation procedure under the Industrial Disputes Act is different from the conciliation under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996. Slightly different in method. The conciliation that is there under the 1996 Act is today what is universally considered to be mediation. The difference being by virtue of the amendment to the CPC of 2000, that conciliation was more formalized and mediation was more free-flowing. The mediator was more neutral. The conciliator, in turn, could formulate options of settlement. So here are the difference in that. Now, prior to that, we have something known as the Lok Adalat. The Lok Adalat literally translates into people's court. That's the word Lok Adalat in Hindi. Now, under that scheme, there is a judge. Sometimes it's a retired judge, sometimes it's a sitting judge. There is a social worker and quite a senior lawyer empaneled on a panel in a Lok Adalat. And people with their disputes come before them. The panel hears them and they advise them as to a possible settlement. That's a Lok Adalat. The finality or the acceptance of the agreement of a Lok Adalat gets the concept of an award under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act as if it is an award as an arbitration award. So that's the legal effect that is available there. In India, there is another system that is known as the Khap Panchayats or the Panchayati Raj system, which deals with disputes of 10 wise men, but it's 5 or 3, 4 wise men who intermeddle and provide a dispute mechanism by hearing the parties out, and in a sense, like your expert counsel procedure, where they hear you and then they tell you, okay, this is what we feel is the solution. So these are the type of backgrounds to mediation that we have. However, years back, when the Arbitration and Conciliation Act was brought in, some judges, right in Chennai and in Gujarat, decided that let's have mediation as defined under the mediation concept. And 2 mediation centers were started, one in Chennai and one in Gujarat. It didn't take off much. Chennai center today is working extremely well. We even had the Nani Palkiwala ADR Institute there, which otherwise trains people. But it dragged on for a long time and it practically died. It's only recently, maybe in the last 5 years or so, that Delhi High Court and a few other courts around have decided to push. And that boost came post the 2000 amendment in a Salem judgment. The Salem bar is a bar from Chennai, which challenged the amendments in the CPC. And pursuant to those challenges in the Supreme Court, one of the things that fell out was that the Supreme Court formed an ADR committee and produced mediation and ADR rules. So that is how mediation today has got into a more organized form pursuant to the solemn judgment of the Supreme Court. At the moment, in 2013, the Civil Procedure Code went to another amendment to bring in a Commercial Courts Act. And in 2018, that Commercial Courts Act went into another amendment to bring in pre-litigation mediation as a mandatory form. So this is basically the scenario of mediation in India.